Should you be buying GICs at these rates? We're seeing rates that we haven't seen in years, with 1-year GICs paying as much as 5.41%. This is the number one question that we've been receiving from our clients. No joke, I've probably had this question 10 times over the last 2 weeks. So what are they doing? Well, there are a few things that we need to take into consideration. GIC rates, inflation, taxes, your timeline, and your alternative investment options. Before we get into all that, a quick refresher on what a GIC is. A GIC is a term investment that pays you a guaranteed rate of interest on the anniversary of your purchase. Terms tend to vary between 30 days and 7 years. GICs can be redeemable or non-redeemable. A redeemable GIC gives you access to your money at any time, whereas a non-redeemable GIC keeps you locked in until the term matures. Because a redeemable GIC is liquid, generally the interest rate that they pay will be less than a non-redeemable GIC. Traditionally, the issue with GICs is their returns after factoring in taxes and inflation have been negative. But with higher rates today, is that still the case? Let's say you buy a 1-year GIC today for $100,000 at 5.4%. After 1 year, your $100,000 would have grown to $105,400. Assuming this GIC wasn't purchased in a registered account like an RRSP or a TFSA, then you're going to have to pay tax on the $5,400 that you made as interest. Assuming you're in a 30% tax bracket, that's going to generate a tax bill of just over $1,600, which brings down your net return to just under $3,800. We also need to factor inflation in the net return. So as we know, prices go up over time, and as we've seen in the grocery store, eggs have been on an absolute tear this year. The last Stats Canada release for inflation, which took place in October 2023, had inflation year over year at 3.1%. Now this encompasses all goods in the Canadian economy, but if we look at things that we actually spend their money on, like groceries, then inflation was still actually at 5.6%. Assuming we use a rate of inflation of 5.6%, you need your $100,000 to grow to $105,600 by next year to keep up with rising prices. After factoring in inflation of $5,600, our net return is now down to $98,180 or a 1.82% negative loss. Even with higher rates, GIC returns are still negative after factoring in inflation and taxes. So does that mean you should avoid GICs altogether? Well, not necessarily. This depends on your timeline. If you need money over the next 5 years, then GICs are a great option because you don't want any volatility and you want to guarantee what you're going to get as your return. If you don't need money for 5 years, then I would say there are better investment options. So what are your alternative investment options? So an alternative to a GIC would be to invest in the stock market. Now for most retirees, they're not going to fully invest in the stock market as they want to be more conservative. So let's say that they invest in a balanced portfolio which consists of 60% stocks and 40% more conservative investments. The benefit of having a portion of your portfolio invested in the stock market is that in the long run, you should generate a positive return after factoring in inflation and taxes. Having said that, even with a balanced portfolio, there will be some volatility and some years where the return is actually going to be negative. Because of these fluctuations, you don't want to be investing money that you're going to need over the next 5 years because you might put yourself in a position where you're drawing on your portfolio while it's down in value. By giving yourself 5 years before you actually need to use the money, a balanced portfolio makes a lot of sense because you'll have time to recover from any negative years. In fact, if we look at rolling returns for 5-year periods going back to January 1935 to December 2021, there has never been a 5-year period where a balanced portfolio was negative in value. So if you need the money in the next 5 years, then I don't mind losing a little bit of purchasing power to invest in GICs. However, if you don't need to use the money for 5+ years, then there are better investment options available. If you want to learn how to strategically include GICs into your overall portfolio allocation, then check out this video. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Hit that subscribe button and we'll see you next time.